Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 3 of Heavy Rotations. My name is Thom Jennings, and I'm here with my son, Trevor Jennings. And this is the show where we trade music and decide whether it would be part of our collection or not. So, and also just a quick note, if you could please help us build our audience by subscribing to the show on YouTube and sharing it with your friends, we would truly appreciate it. And if there's any music that you'd like us to listen to, send us a message. We'll get to it. Anyhow, this week, Trevor gave me an album from someone I've never heard of before, and I think typically we try to do that, is exchange something that the other person hasn't heard of. And it's a gentleman by the name of, is it Cowles or Cowles? How do you pronounce it?
Cowles, I believe it's Cowles.
Okay.
So, yes, I tried to give you something that I didn't think you'd end up discovering on your own. Brent Cowles, I stumbled upon him because we opened for him. We opened for 2 different bands, and he was one of the bands that played after us.
Okay.
He played by himself. It was just him and a guitar, and I thought it was fantastic. Normally it's kind of hard, I feel like, for a solo artist to go up and really captivate an audience, but he has a stellar voice, really good guitar playing. I thought it was also interesting, he was touring just in his pickup truck.
Oh, wow.
Super nice individual, just like the nicest person you ever meet, very supportive of us, and very just like down to earth, great guy. So made a really good impression on stage and off stage, so I've really fell in love with him, and I just thought, if I could pass him on to you and others, it would be, good. So how did you feel about it?
Well, so, quick question. So was this Rust Belt Brigade that opened up for him? Okay, because you've been in a couple of different bands. I wasn't sure. And I think, if I remember correctly, I did a little bit of poking around. He's from Colorado?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so we have, I have a son, Trevor has a brother that's in Colorado, and I think that might have been part of the connection as well. And then he was with some kind of band before he went solo. Was he like an emo or some kind of different style of music before he went?
I'm not
this sort of Americana?
That I don't know of.
Okay.
If you found something out, good, but the interesting thing about this is this record is him with a band.
Yes.
Which I also thought it was great because I saw him solo, which I thought was interesting because you had shared with me Brandy Clark last week.
Right.
And you had kind of a similar experience. You saw her play as a solo singer-songwriter on stage.
Right.
And then the record you gave me was them performing as a full band. Totally not on purpose, but kind of correlated, and I thought that was interesting. I'm not sure what he did before, but I thought this was interesting hearing him with a full band, and I have never heard of him prior to playing. I checked him out a little bit because we were going to be sharing a stage together, but I didn't dive too deep. But right after the show, I was like, hey man, I really want to buy a record. And this is the one I got because he played the song How to Be Okay Alone on stage, and I thought it was great. So.
Yeah, and we'll have to show I believe it's colored vinyl as well, so we'll have to show that before we wrap up and whatever. So, interesting, weird story that happened when I listened to this record. I actually, I'm really into, because I've been listening to records for a long time, I'm really into what they call track sequencing. Okay. So like side 1, side 2. And a lot of times, people my age, we were growing up, sometimes we'd listen to side 1 and we wouldn't listen to side 2, whatever. But you could sort of, there's sort of a method, and I feel like the great records are tracked properly. Like side 1 sounds like side 1 and side 2 sounds like side 2. Mm-hmm. So as I'm getting older, I wear glasses and everything, I put the record on, and the label doesn't really clearly delineate which one is side A or side B or side 1 or side 2.
That's a frequent thing for some reason.
So, I put it on, and I listened to side 2 first, and then there's a closing song, and I'm like, wow, man, this is great. And then I put on what I think was side B, and I immediately thought, wow, this would have been better as side A. Like, I feel like, why wasn't this side A and the other one side B? And then I look at the record and I go, well, that's exactly what he did. So in a way, that's a compliment to how he put the album together, because I was kind of in tune to what should have been side 1 and what should have been side 2. Now his vocal range, it's weird. He's one of these guys that when I listen to him, I swear I've heard his voice before, but I can't for the life of me pin down where I've heard it. But he has a great vocal range, which is something I really liked. Not too heavily produced, and sometimes I like albums that from the era that have some high production quality or everything, but I felt like because this wasn't overproduced, it's something that'll probably last a little bit longer as far as, kind of like Brandy Clark. You know, if like I said, studio album, it kind of sounds country. It sort of sounds like this era of modern country. I think this is more along the lines of like a Bob Dylan or something that 20, 30 years from now, it's not going to sound dated, you know?
Right.
There were 2 songs that popped. I'll double check the titles. Gina June, and that's like some kind of a funky kind of beat, like Trevor and I, we've played together a lot because he's a drummer and I play guitar. You know, not you're a professional musician more so than me, but we play those kind of beats that are just, you know what? They're just timeless. They're just a lot of fun. And then the How to Be Okay Alone, which was the closer on the album, I was like, damn, dude, this is like he sailed off into the sunset really nice.
Yeah.
So,
With the title too.
I just, so, you know, I'm really glad that you shared this one with me because I enjoyed it a lot more than I don't know. I really didn't know what to expect when I first looked at it. I thought it was going to be, you know, kind of country-ish and, you know, super Americana, and sometimes that's real hit and miss when it comes to me. But there were a couple of tracks that really kind of smacked me in the face, and I think he clearly has he's going to build a nice audience. I think of, as far as like singer-songwriters, guys like Amos Lee. I don't know if you've ever heard of Amos Lee. I'll have to expose you to him at some point. And another guy named Mutlu Honoral, who's a guy that I've met over the years. And they just have these really unique voices, and they're able to write some really cool songs with some very catchy lyrics. So a little bit long-winded, but, you know, I mean, I think it was, this one was a pretty fun experience for me. And you know, I think you kind of hit it on the head. And I didn't know anything about you opening for him. I mean, that to me is like, that's pretty cool, you know, that you can have that connection with an artist and then like their music, right?
Yeah.
So, all right.
Well, I think that's it. I was going to ask you your favorite song, but you already answered that.
I gave you that, and you want to take out the album so people can see it. I'm a huge fan of colored vinyl. I don't know that it sounds any better, but I love the way it looks. And you know, let's see what we got here. Yeah, that's a pretty cool color. That's not one you see a lot of, as well. And as you can see, if you look at the label, it's not that easy to tell which is side A and which is side B, because I think it's just like that little teeny thing in the center. But that was my big takeaway from it. And you know, we want to close these shows with the real question is like, would this be something that I would consider adding to my collection?
That was the question I forgot to ask.
Well, we got to know. Yeah, I would. I think this would be a good fit in my collection. I think it's a good album that, you know, it's great. To me, this is good, what I would call reading music or studying music, something that you have on where you're just kind of chilling, maybe got a little incense burning or something and just wanting to mellow out. But it's not, you know, I don't want to say that in a way that it's boring, because it's not. It's relaxing enough that it doesn't, you know, the guy didn't like go over the top with the production like I said earlier, but it's not boring, but it is something that's kind of nice and pretty cool to listen to. And hopefully I'll get a chance to see him once we have live music again.
Do you think it was a little bit out of your normal wheelhouse?
Not as much as you might think. No, probably not. As I said, I mean, it definitely reminded me of some people that I've listened to, but for the life of me, I just can't. It's been driving me crazy since I heard it, because I was like, oh, this sounds like somebody that I know, but I can't quite figure it out. So
I can't put a pin on it. I just think his voice is kind of unique and amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, the range is pretty spectacular. So he does a great job on this record.
Yeah, good lyrics too.
All right, well, that's it for this week's heavy rotations. This one will be in my heavy rotation. And next week, we're going to flip the page, and we're going to see what you think of something from my youth. And I'll be very interested to hear your feedback on that. And this is Thom Jennings and my son, Trevor. Thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe. Please share. Special thanks, by the way, to our camera person extraordinaire, the lovely Meredith Snow. We'll see you next week.
Tap on it.